The following presentation is a production of Ride the Wave Media.
Hey, you heathens. Welcome back to Vibing the Apocalypse. I'm your host, the Fresh King Benjamin. It's been a couple weeks since I've been on, but it is spring now, and it's day 1,470 of the apocalypse, and so we are back. I have a really good friend on. We're going to talk about the apocalypse today, but before I jump into that, I just want to let you know, if you are a local listener, if you're in the Salt Lake area, I have an upcoming show for comedy on April 7th. So on April 7th, I'm going to be on a show called Comedy Church, which is a really hilarious show where it's like a fake church that's also comedy. And we're going to be getting together and talking about the law of chastity, which is a very important law that keeps people from fucking each other. And so we're going to talk about that. If you want to come to that show, you totally should. And you can actually get a little, I'm going to just share my screen really quick because you can get, I don't want that. That's like if you come to this website, marketevents.com/E/D6EFIWOU1N, they need to do a much better job on their marketing so that they have a better website, but they're still new. They're working on it. Sunday, April 7th, 7:30 p.m. at the Redemption Bar and Grill in Harriman, Utah. And if you use the code Benjamin, tickets are $10. It's a steal. But if you use the code Benjamin, you get 20% off, which is like double tithing. So you can come for just $8, which is insane. So definitely come to that. And that's my announcement. Now, jumping back into our interview. So I want to just welcome my good friend, Stephanie Lucas. Stephanie, welcome to the show. What do you want to tell listeners a little bit about you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation. So my name is Stephanie Lucas. I live here in lovely Austin, Texas. And yeah.
Representing my Austin sweatshirt today.
So good. So I am in the insurance and financial services space, so very much in the matrix, a very dense industry. So operating in that space is quite interesting when you're super witchy and like spiritual and very different than how it operates.
Yeah, you're kind of a walking contradiction because on the one hand, insurance, finance space, like brilliant in that, crushing it. And then on the other hand, like I've been to your house. I have never been to a more witchy place in my life. I love it. Like you've got crystals everywhere. Your cat is like a reincarnated someone. Like you are legit. You're literally wearing a pendant right now. And I've done some cool witch. You have a shed in your house, a she shed, where you do witchy things with, and we pulled brooms in that shed and it like changed my life. So it's a pretty magical moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious about, but before we kind of get into the conversation, I'm curious about, did you start witching or did you start in this sort of matrix area? And how did you go from this, like you said, deep in the matrix? Like I can't think of anything more tied into the old world that's sort of crumbling than the financial industry. So how did you go from that into this witchy place?
Yeah. So interesting. I was very buttoned up, corporate, very, wearing my suits and like cute little outfits and very conformative and extremely driven. And I was an addict. Like that industry, when you're out at events and all of these things, you're drinking a lot. There are other things available. And I found myself, by the time I was 32, I was making more money than I had ever made. And I was living in Del Mar, San Diego, on the west side of the freeway.
Is the west side the good side? I don't know anything about San Diego.
It is like you're over by the beach. And
oh, hell yeah.
One of the most expensive areas to be in.
And so you were rich and so you were obviously totally happy.
Oh, I was fucking miserable, right? And I was constantly drinking and I would, plan my time around like, working 18 hours a day. Then I'd be like, I need to drink. And
oh my gosh,
very like functional alcoholic and addict. And about 11-ish years ago, I got sober. And when I got sober, and it was actually like when the Mayan calendar ended. So
No
like
way. Oh, that's cool.
crazy. And
Yeah.
I wasn't into any of this, right? I did not meditate. I was not connected to nature. I was not connected to my body. I was like, I don't even know, like out there. And so when I got sober is when I finally like found spirituality again. We'll touch on this like very briefly because I did come from a fundamentalist, like not polygamous, but a cult,
Yeah.
you know.
All of my best friends have some kind of cult background.
Yeah, yeah. And I was very young, but because of that experience and how it impacted like my older siblings and stuff, and like how we were forced to go to church like after the cult, it
Yeah.
was like I really rejected.
Sort of reacted against that
Yes,
pretty
I
hard.
rejected God. I rejected anything around like spirituality. And so I
Mhm.
didn't understand that there was like a huge difference between organized religion that's trying to control you
Yeah.
and spirituality and being connected to all that is in nature and like,
Yeah.
and so came the
I love that. That's so interesting because I think that I think there are so many people like you and like me who have gone through sort of a similar journey of
yeah,
being in a very restrictive spiritual place, cultish, cult-like, and then we sort of reject that, and we kind of, and in the rejection of that, we're like, oh, all spiritual. We kind of like throw the baby out with the bathwater, and we're like, we're just gonna do science and real shit, right? And I'm grateful for my experience doing that because it did feel like it sort of grounded me, right? It sort of landed me in this reality. And then I also think too that like humans have been spiritual. We have been believers for hundreds of thousands of years,
yeah,
way before we had organized religion, way before we had Christianity or Islam or Buddhism or any formal religion. We were animists. We were spiritual. We believed in nature. We communed with spirits, right? And so I think that in a large part, that is who we are. And that's sort of baked into our brain. I think that our operating system is a spiritual operating system. And I think that's one of the reasons why right now there's sort of this interesting, like you see a lot of people joining cults. You see a lot of people going back to religion. And I think it's because the modern scientific world, for all of the great things that it's done, like our ability to talk, you're in Austin, I'm in Utah, like magic. I love that. Thank you, science. But it hasn't done a great job of giving us an internal operating system for how to live life, like how to live life well. It's left it a little barren. So I'm kind of interested to, I think that's going to be a lot of what we talk about today.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's my life, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So growing up, you mentioned you kind of had a little bit of a kind of a like mostly your older siblings as a cult background. You react against that. Did you have any kind of conception of the apocalypse like pre-COVID?
Yes. Okay. So, all of my life after 7 years old, when we actually had TV, there's always been this like zombie,
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And as I grew up, it was sort of like I was seeing this happen around me where like people were heavily medicated and, constantly drinking and they were like numb and dumb and easier to control. And so I feel like the zombie apocalypse was like slowly like put into society like
oh yeah,
decades ago.
yeah,
It wasn't COVID that created this apocalypse, but now it's like very much like in your face, very, very aware. And, it wasn't like sprinkled into the water. It was like, I'm going to punch you in the face with it.
right. We're gonna shake the entire world and say, hey, by the way,
Yeah.
world's different now. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Like, look what kind of control we do have.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, yes.
When I love too that like one of the things that I think is kind of going back to maybe zeitgeist or sort of this spirituality that's sort of underneath everything that's happening is that I think it's really fascinating that that we had so many stories about the apocalypse, like the zombie apocalypse, the Mad Max apocalypse, like so for decades we've been sort of telling those stories, kind of prepping our minds for something like that. And I think too that like I also think about the advent of like it seems like a I don't know what cult what cult were your parents a part of? Do you know?
Like 5-star Pentecostal, so it's a very strict Christian sect.
Did they handle like snakes?
No.
No. I'm like thinking of who are the snake handlers? I thought those were Pentecostals.
Well, they didn't do anything cool.
Damn it.
Yeah. They wore like, they were sort of like the long, plain dress with bonnet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Bonnets. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my, your people and my people would have fit in.
They would have, because when we kind of got kicked out, they went and found a Mennonite church.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And the Mennonites were like, we don't want you. And so then they went and found like a normal Christian church. And then we went to this like Christian school and, that anyway.
And you know that you're extreme when the Mennonites are like, easy.
Yeah, I don't want you.
No, thank you.
It might have had to do like a little bit with I had 6 brothers at the time. So
Yeah.
unruly children.
Oh
and-
yeah.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah. They're like,
Yeah.
to you.
I think it's fascinating that so the cult that I grew up in, Mormonism, right? That starts in the 1830s. JW started in the 1830s, Seventh-day Adventists. There's so many cults that kind of go back to like 1830s, 1840s America. And then they sort of for generations, like I'm the 7th generation Mormon in my family, which feels all sorts of powerful. And like literally, like my ancestor came to America, his son joined the Mormons, and then 7 generations later, I pop out and I'm like, fuck this Mormon shit. And I know so many people like you and like a lot of my friends from a bunch of different cults who have done that and who have sort of they've been in the cult for years. It sort of created a certain kind of human, and then they've sort of stepped out. They've rejected that. And I think that's kind of magical because I think that's actually created a certain kind of human who is sort of ready to thrive and to sort of do really well in this new post-apocalyptic world where because we're grounded in reality, we're skeptical, we're willing to like think deeply, we're willing like it doesn't bother me to think about the like I think about America, like the American government sometimes as very much a cult. And that doesn't scare me that because I'm like, look, I know what cults are.
Uh-huh.
I've thought my way out of like it feels like a normal thing to do. And it also feels really important because there's a lot of we need that kind of thinking today. Like we need people who are willing to challenge the status quo, who are willing to live their authentic lives in a way that's powerful, that relies on themselves as the source of their authority and intuition, that really brings humans back and lets humans human again. And that's one of the reasons I'm really excited about talking to you is that you've done a lot of work and you're really good at humaning. So I want to just kind of turn it over to you and just like teach me a little bit. How do you think, what are some things that you think that are important for us to do in this kind of post-apocalyptic, this rapidly changing world? How do we make this world into a more human world? And how do we take control and power back in our own lives?
Oh man, there's so many things. I do want to start really with your own being sovereign in your own body, right? We are given so much in this world, but the most important thing that we have been given is this vessel. And it is our job to nurture it so that as we, grow older, we are doing it in a way that is healthy and vibrant and happy.
Yeah.
Our world is so toxic. And because of the government and the way that this corporation of a country has been set up, everything's about profitability. So it doesn't matter if the food that you're being given has chemicals and things that are causing your body to break down, to, become obese, to have diabetes, to it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
all of
Ad nauseum.
like the autoimmune issues that exist today is just insane to me.
Yeah, it's wild to me that America is so wealthy. We're so wealthy and we are so sick.
Well, unhealthy. Like
That blows my mind.
it's insane. So taking care of yourself is like the biggest, most important thing. And what I mean by that is like we're not getting the nutrients that we need from the food that we're eating because the soil is so depleted and the everything is being raped of all of its resources, right?
Yeah.
And so like the mineral content, the nutrients in the food is so bad that we have to supplement. And so minerals are number one. We do not get enough minerals from the food we eat. And so beam, like BEAM, like beam me up, Scotty. Maybe you don't know that reference because
No, no. Uh,
okay. Or a track.
oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
That's like you get beamed up. I don't who's Scotty though?
Yeah. That's like
Is that like the computer that you call the computer and it
Star Trek guys.
oh, it's one of the dudes. Okay, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so beam, BEAM minerals, they are like the best minerals I have found. And after I started taking those, just after a few weeks, I started sleeping better. My body is hydrated better. It holds water better. Like, and I know that
Awesome.
I do like sauna cold plunge regularly. And when I'm sweating, I sweat better. Like,
Yeah.
there's a difference, right? And
Beam
so
is Beam a brand or is it an acronym that stands for a certain
it's a brand.
okay.
Yeah, Beam Minerals. I don't know. Do you do show notes? I would assume you do. We can put
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
out.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. So hydration, right? If you're drinking water, you need to have remineralized water. What happens if you drink water that has been like purified, or you're buying this bottled water that's not remineralized? When you drink that water, the water needs minerals. It'll actually take from your body. So it's depleting you from what you need.
So you're like draining yourself you're like flushing out the things that
Yeah.
you need. Yeah.
And also don't drink out of freaking plastic bottles. Like microplastics, what this is doing to your system, the amount of disease that is running rampant in our society, a huge amount of it is because of the microplastics in our body. Like even getting it from some of the food you're eating, it's ridiculous.
Turns
Um,
out turns out plastics are not just killing turtles.
that's right.
Plastics were a terror. Like I get why we did it because they're so convenient, but we really missed the boat on that and just
Yeah,
thinking about the long-term impact of
absolutely.
what we do, right? And what we like. I think about that all the time, especially with I don't know if I've talked to you. Have we talked about Turtle Island?
Oh yeah.
So when I think about America, right, I think about Turtle Island and I think about for thousands of years, the indigenous peoples of this continent were aware of their impact on the continent. They were aware of, and that they actually had many tribes had people who would be, they were given the job of speaking for future generations, like for 10 years or 10 generations, 50 generations in the future. And so they were really aware of that. And then white European culture comes over and is like, oh, what a great resource that we can just exploit immediately. And I think that's one of the most important things to bring back into balance in this new, like the thing that I hope that we do with this opportunity is to recognize that all of the technology that we have is like, I think Gaia adores humans. I
Okay.
think Gaia thinks we are so clever and so
Yeah.
smart. She loves us. And we have to get back to understanding that there's a way for us to be our brilliant, clever, technological selves that is deeply in line with caring for her. And in fact, that's the only way that we survive.
Yeah.
Because if any civilization that doesn't do that is just going to get flushed down the toilet.
Yeah. There's going to be another Noah's Ark.
Yeah, yeah. And I won't be able to get on that because I'm so wicked.
Yeah, I don't know what that looks like, but I probably won't be on it either. So yeah, so I mean, like really caring for your body, and that is built on your self-worth, right?
Mm,
When you care so deeply about this vessel, then you start caring about everything outside of you. Taking
yeah.
right? Taking care of your house, the things that you value, your cats, your children. Those are all reflections of how you are doing on the inside.
Hmm.
And like a big thing for me is organic food, right? Like I get that organic food is expensive. So on top of going to the farmer's market, going to regenerative farms, thankfully I have access to those things because I'm in Texas.
Austin is pretty great for that. Yeah.
It's amazing. But there's a website that you can go to find a regenerative farm in your area.
Love this.
Yeah, I know I have it in my notes here. Farmer's Footprint is like incredible. They put this list.
Farmers
It's
print.
organicconsumers.org/regenerative hyphen farm hyphen and you can go to that website, put your zip code in, and it'll tell you all the types of regenerative farms in your area.
Hang on. Tell me that one more. Organic. I'm going to just do that right now. Organic
Organicconsumers.org
consumers.org. Okay.
/regenerative
Regenerative
hyphen farm hyphen
farm.
/.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
Yes.
Holy cow. So I'm seeing like this whole map of the entire United States.
Yeah.
Oh, and see, this is why even though this is a show about the apocalypse and how everything is breaking and we're all going to die,
Yes.
it's also a show we're not because we're so clever and we're
Yes.
so aware and we're actually tapped in and we're paying attention and we have all of the tools that like that we need to do this. And just I want to just share this so that people who are watching can see. Check this out, y'all. Like you jump into here and there are thousands of them all over the place. And so here I am in Utah and bam, there's one. I mean, this is like literally probably 20 minutes from my house.
Great. So yeah, so I started my own garden. I have like over 100 square feet of gardening, like raised beds in my backyard.
Yeah.
On year 2, and I'm a green witch, right? So
Yes.
plants are the thing. I'm not out casting spells on people and being all decrepit and weird and like doing bad stuff. Everything I do is for the betterment of nature
Mm,
and people around me and my everything, right?
yeah.
Like,
Which I think like that is as I've studied witches, as I've gotten to know several witches, what I've realized is that was what witches were the whole time.
yes.
Like the whole time they were just like women who knew about nature and could use herbs and like the whole broom thing. This blew my mind when I learned this. That the whole witches on a broom. Why did witches have brooms? Because they figured out if you sweep your house, it's cleaner and you don't die.
Yes. Well, now I have a Jasper, so I don't have to sweep.
Wait, what's a jasper?
It is like the most amazing air purification system on the planet.
Oh, no way.
Yes. And like it will take allergens, micro everything's out of the air. And so if you're using a Jasper, you're not getting dust because it sucks it all up. Yeah.
So you fly around on a jasper instead
Yeah.
of a broom. That's proud.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
So you're a green witch.
Yeah. And so like gardening is so important, right? So if you can't afford to buy all your stuff organic, learn to garden. Get your hands in the dirt. Not only getting your hands in the dirt is like good for your garden, but it's good for your microbiome in your system.
Yeah, it turns out eating dirt is really good for you.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I think is a little hilarious about my background, right? Because I grew up and I never went to the doctor, never got any kind of vaccine. Like I was a literal free range kid. We just ran around and played in the dirt. And and I have a pretty strong immune, like I'm a pretty healthy guy,
Yeah.
which is not like I'm grateful for modern medicine and all the ways that it helps us when we need it. And I think it's also kind of, it's the extreme focus on like purification and like with our water, like you were saying, like nothing in our water. No, we need a little, like, obviously we don't want cholera in our water,
But we
but
need,
we need some dirt.
yes.
We need some dirt in our water a little bit. And actually so when I was at Burning Man my first year, I had this really interesting experience with dirt because over the course of the week, I just got progressively more naked. So beginning of the week, I was my very strict polygamous self. End of the week, I was butt ass naked. I didn't even care. It was magical. And as I was doing that, what I started to do is instead of like putting sunscreen on at the beginning of the day, which is where I started because the sun out there is brutal. I just remembered I would like remember like these David Attenborough documentaries and like the elephants would like throw dirt on them. And I'm like, I'm going to try that. So I like literally just scooped up a bunch of dirt and just rubbed it all over my body. And then and anytime I started to feel like I got a little bit of sun, I just rubbed more dirt on and it worked. Like I did it. I wasn't sunburned. And actually what I started to find was that dirt started to mix with a little bit of sweat. So I had sort of this thin film of like dirt and sweat all over my body.
Yeah.
And it was actually really, really comfortable.
It probably exfoliated a lot too.
Oh, my skin was so smooth,
Yeah.
so soft. And it made me realize, right? Like we are animals and we've removed ourselves. We've tried to like remove ourselves from this,
Yeah.
like this animal world that we live, but we are just like, we're designed to be in the dirt. We're designed to be a little bit messy. We're designed to kind of have like that. All of this is who we are. And that we aren't really these hyper clean, like we can actually get in that dirt and eat a little bit of, and it's actually really good for us.
It's actually very good for us. Yeah.
And it's funny too, because like I think that our generation maybe is sort of maybe the last generation that's really, because my kids they love gardening. They talked me into, because I was still very resistant to gardening because of how I grew up. I was like, I don't want to garden. I want to go to a store. But
You're resisting what you were brought up on.
I'm resisting what I was, because it wasn't fun, right? But my kids are like, yo, they love it. And so they talked me into it. They were like, we want to do a garden in our upstairs, like on our balcony. I'm like, well, we don't have a garden bed or anything. So one day we were driving, there's like this big abandoned lot behind our house, and we were just driving through it, and someone had just taken a box spring and thrown it out, like just dumped it there.
Oh my God.
And we were like, oh, what the, like, assholes, like, why would you do that? And then we looked at it, and my daughter, my oldest daughter was like, we could probably do something with that. And I was like, yeah, we probably could. So we took it, we hauled it back to my house. It's right outside, full of dirt. We just filled it with dirt. And we planted a bunch of onions last fall. And now they're starting to pop up. So we're going to have a whole bunch of onions that grew in our box spring mattress. And it was that easy, right? Like it. And I think that that's where, and what's fun about that too, is that I think we've become really disconnected from food, from where it comes from really the magic of of creating it and then pulling it from the earth and then eating it, right? That's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a lot more healthy than like a McDonald's hamburger.
Yes. It's like, it's not going to cause disease.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love gardening. When I see new things pop up, it's so exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, I did that.
Yeah.
Well, like the earth did that. And like,
And you help.
but I help.
Yeah. I put that seed there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, so other things that I'm definitely passionate about cleaning my own environment is like having solar energy, doing as much EMF proofing, right?
What is EMF proofing? What are EMFs?
Gosh, EMF, electromagnetic frequencies.
Is that like, that's from screens,
Your
right?
Wi-Fi, that's from all the 5G, like all the things that are happening around us because of the technology that we've created.
Yeah.
And there's scientific evidence of it messing with our cells, and like there's cell mutation, like so much stuff is happening. Like there was a study that was done from somebody using a cell phone where like their beta waves in their brain just went like crazy because they had their phone up next to their
Yeah.
right.
I can feel that, right? Like when because I'm pretty sensitive to like energy. Like I can feel it in my hands, especially. And if I'm holding my phone for a significant amount of time, it's hot.
Yes,
And I feel like it's hot, and I feel that energy like getting sucked into my hands.
exactly.
And so I have like I don't have it up here, but I have like a big old obsidian ball that if I've been using my phone for a little while, I'll just hold that, and it's cold.
They're like
It-
suck it out.
and yeah, it feels like it's sucking it out.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I've got this right in front of me on my computer. I think
Shungite.
this is, yeah, tongue.
Yeah, so shungite is like a good absorber of EMF. So I actually have a case, I can't reach it, but it's like a super sparkly fun shungite case that's on my cell phone.
Oh, rad.
And so that's one way of helping with that. But then I also have this service called quantumupgrades.io, and it's beaming quantum energy into the phone to help reduce the EMF.
Ah, rad.
And I have it in my house, so it's reducing the EMFs. And then I also have these devices that are plugged into the wall, and then this little one here, it's like calm your body,
Calm the mind.
and
Yeah.
it's Go Sanctuary. This is from it's Earth Calm. That's another website where you can get these different devices for EMF reduction. Like you can't get cell phone service inside my house unless you're using my Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's rad.
At night, I turn it off while I'm sleeping because it's like, okay, I don't want that stuff all running, and I'm turning everything off in the house because it's interrupting your sleep pattern.
Yeah. I think that seems like such a great idea. Like even just with the disconnecting from the constant pings, like
Yes.
the constant of like, we're so, it's wild to me sometimes when I think about how we used to, like, text messaging used to be years. Like we used to like write a person a letter
Yes.
and then literally just hand it to someone and say, here, and somewhere in that direction is
Where they are.
the person that this needs to go to. Can you get it to them? Right. And so there was this space, I think, that we had in our lives that we don't have. And there's nice things about that, right? Like it's nice to be able to instantly text my kids and to know exactly where they are all the
Yes.
time, right? There's a plus to that.
Yeah.
And there's a cost to that.
Yes. Agreed. But yeah, so technology, there's so much greatness about it. And then there is so much that's damaging to our cellular, like down to your cellular level, right? And a lot of people aren't even aware of it. It blows my mind how much like unawareness is happening around
Yeah.
what we're doing to this planet.
Yeah. Which is a bummer.
It is such a bummer. Like even the frequency of the planet's changing because of what we're doing. Like the Schumann resonance doesn't even happen all the time anymore.
I don't even know what the Schumann resonance is. Tell me what that is.
Oh my gosh. So it's like the vibration that the earth is emitting. And that is like I can't think of what the hertz is, but you could go on like Spotify and just put in Schumann resonance and like get a playlist of like these vibrations, and they're healing vibrations. You can put in like earth healing vibrations or something like this. But frequencies, we are like energy, right?
Right.
And so frequencies are going to affect us, whether it's a negative or a positive, right? And so, like, you find that in music, like, whatever they decide to use in music could be a negative or a positive, impact.
Well, and I just Googled Schumann resonance, and it's showing like it's part of the Earth's electromagnetic field spectrum, right? So the Earth itself is this energetic thing, right? It's shooting out all of these, and the fact that I'm continually blown away how powerful like the little creatures that are us are, right? That we can impact things on that level. Like literally right behind my house over here, there's a whole mountain. There's a mountain that is getting eaten by humans as they mine it away for copper, right? Every day, a
Yes.
little bit less mountain, right? And the fact that we're just blasting these frequencies, and we don't know the long-term impact of that. Like cell phones, we've had cell phones for like 20 years, for like 30 years. That's not a very long time.
No.
Especially when you think about the length of time that like it's taken for like how long nature moves, right? Nature moves in millions of years,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And over millions of years, it creates all this balance. And then we can kind of come in so quickly and tip that
Yeah.
in disastrous ways, right? Like we're in the middle of, that's where we're at right now. Like we're in the middle of they're calling it the sixth great extinction. We are slaughtering life on this planet on an unprecedented scale. And it's really only within like the last 200 years.
Yeah. Well, a huge problem is that we've traded, our health and the like nature thriving for convenience.
Yeah,
Right? Like, for instance, the microwave.
totally.
The microwave is the worst invention ever. It literally kills the nutrients of the food that you're warming up. So you're just like shoveling nothing in your mouth. So
But it's really hot nothing
really hot nothing.
that got in my mouth really fast.
And there's one in almost every house in America, at least.
Yeah.
When I've traveled, there's not always a microwave, but there's a lot.
We have lots. And what's wild to me too is that it's not even like the level of convenience is not, we're so fixated on convenience because a microwave is not that much more convenient than like an air fryer.
No, and that's the thing is like it's literally taking the nutrients out of your food and radiating you. So like go ahead and poison yourself and not get any nutrients.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. And go so fast like that you're not actually slowing down, appreciating the food, smelling the food, right? Like cooking used to be such a process, right? Like we'd get together and we would do it together and we'd smell it and it would like all of this stuff would happen. And now we're just like, oh, as quickly as we can, like let's get that out of the way. Like let's eat as quickly as we possibly can.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like cooking is an art form in and of itself.
Totally.
And when I can take ingredients and make it beautiful with the colors of the different vegetables and like, putting these flavors together and
I imagine when I sit down and cook, I imagine sometimes that I'm like, it's my witch's cauldron. Like it's my little warlock's cauldron and I'm putting in turmeric and I'm like, this turmeric does this thing. And put some sage and this sage does this. And maybe it does and maybe it doesn't, but the intention of like, it does. Yeah. But it's like the intention of I'm creating this thing and I'm doing it with love and I'm doing it for my kids and I'm doing it for myself. And then we sit down and we eat it. And that's a different experience than like, I'm going to throw in a microwave pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm going to go to Chili's.
Or I'm going to go to Chili's or Applebee's.
Oh my God. And then I'm thinking about like all of the seed oils and preservatives and all these things that are just getting thrown into the food. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Why? These gums? I'm like, if something has more than 7 ingredients and it's not organic and I can't pronounce a thing, that's not going in my grocery cart. It is not coming to my house.
Yeah, if I can't pronounce a thing, if I can't get it out of my mouth, I probably shouldn't put it in my mouth. I look on these ingredients lists and I'm just like,
what is that?
What is that? Xanthan gum?
Ugh. And talk about inflammation. It causes so much inflammation in your body. And what causes disease? Inflammation.
Yeah. So we're literally eating ourselves sick.
And it's all in the name of profitability. We go right back to that profitability.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I could only imagine that the witches were probably like hunted down because they were using like natural remedies, and they were like,
Oh, totally.
we're gonna make money on this, so we
Yeah.
stop those witches.
Yeah. The patriarchy, the church was just like, look, we are not going to be able to make this capitalism thing go.
Exactly.
You know, if we have, I mean, if everyone's healthy and just lives their own lives. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's bring this back to the apocalypse, right?
Full
So-
circle. Here we are.
Here we are. The planet's changing vibration, and it's purging itself of all of the people that really can't be sustained.
Yeah.
And it wants people that care for it,
Mhm.
that raise their vibration to match its vibration to help heal it.
Yeah.
If we are healing ourselves from the inside out, we are now healing the planet,
Ooh, I love that.
right? Because if we do regenerative farming, now we're bringing all of these nutrients back to the soil that then gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and this planet will just thrive.
Yeah.
It's like, come the fuck on, people.
I know. And it's so like, I love what you said too about how healing ourselves is healing, because we are that, right? Like we've deluded ourselves that we're something different, right? But we crawled out of, I think of Gaia, right? So I love the Greek myths. I think the Greek myths are fascinating. I think they're so much richer than we give them credit for. And one of the things that the Greek, like when you go back to the very early Greek myths about how everything was formed, the first thing that exists, right, is like there was the sea, and then there was Tartarus, right? Tartarus is the rocks under the earth. And then Gaia comes, and Gaia exists on top of Tartarus. And I imagine that as like, are you familiar with the Gaia hypothesis from, I think, James Lovelace? He was this chemist from like the 1970s. And he proposed a hypothesis that all life is a single organism.
Yeah.
Right? It's a single organism. He called it Gaia. And I imagine it just as like, if you look at our planet, right? And if you look at probably any planet, at the core of the planet, it's like, it's rock, and you can't live on rock, right? That's one of the reasons I love Burning Man, is that you go to Burning Man and you literally go to there's nothing can live there. You are at the place where there's nothing. And then you realize how much humans we depend on layers and layers and layers of life, like dirt, vegetation, forest. There's so much that we rely on that we don't even think about. We just imagine, we're just like, oh, that's just what the world is like.
Right.
No, that's not what the world is like. There are places on Earth where that doesn't exist. That's what Mars is like. The reason that Mars isn't alive is because Mars doesn't have Gaia. Mars doesn't, and there are other reasons for that too, right? But Mars doesn't have this living ecosystem because the reason why we have a great atmosphere is because we have Gaia exhaling oxygen, right? So we're intimately part of this. And I just imagine it as like this giant green goo that's all over the rocks of our planet. And and Gaia invented us to be the caretakers.
Exactly.
Right? We're the caretakers.
Yeah.
And we have really not done we've forgotten. And the good news is we actually did a pretty great job for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? For hundreds of thousands of years, we did a really great job. And then we invented this thing called capitalism, where it was like, how can we exploit? How can we take? And the thing that is the most gross to me about that is that it's not like capitalism doesn't benefit everyone.
No.
Capitalism benefits a few people. It benefits a few people, a whole bunch, and then the rest of the people it enslaves, and then it rapes the earth, and it doesn't, and it's not in, and what we should be doing is, because the earth isn't habitable because the earth is habitable. The earth is habitable because there's this organism that lives on the earth that's this huge super organism that's all around the planet that creates the conditions that allows complex life like us to live. And it doesn't have to.
That's right.
It could not. And I think that in, whatever COVID was, in large part, it was the earth saying, y'all, back the fuck up or I'll kill you.
Yeah. I could agree a little bit with that, but we won't go into my theory on that.
Yeah.
Uh,
We'll save that for a future episode.
Yeah, totally. But like going to the atmosphere, like talking about the chemtrails, like, okay, so we are on this planet where the atmosphere is like perfect condition for us to grow and thrive and all the things. And now they're throwing the chemtrails into the atmosphere, which is basically allowing the sun to come through, but it's trapping everything from going out. And so it's creating like basically a microwave.
Yeah, we're getting fried.
We're like radiating everything, which is why cancer is like rampant. Another reason, of course, there are brilliant reasons. But like, I am just blown away at like these things happening right in our faces, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Because it's not convenient to.
Yeah.
Because I really want to be able to go get to New York in 5 hours.
Right.
That's important.
Yes.
It's important for me physically to be 5,000 miles away in 5 hours.
It's insane.
It's insane. It is a little bit insane.
I mean, we just need to get back to where we know where we came from and who we are and how powerful we are. And then we can just like magically appear where we want to be.
I am 100% on board. Have you seen the OA?
No.
Oh my God, you would love the OA. But in the OA, they do these.
Yeah.
The OA where they have like the movements and then they teleport.
Yes.
I want that to happen.
Yes.
That's when I think of like pyramids, I have no backing for this other than this is what I think, which is there's no way. And maybe we'll shift gears a little bit because you turned me on to this show, Resident Alien.
Oh yeah. Oh my
right.
God.
So I've been thinking about aliens. Number one, I've been thinking about aliens. I'm pretty sure I had a UFO encounter when I was a little kid, right? I remember laying on the tramp one night and there was no sound, but there were all of these lights flashing all over our field. I have no idea what that was. It looked like it looked like spotlights from helicopters, but there was no sound. It was totally quiet.
Yeah.
And if I were an alien, I would totally go check out the polygamous comp. Like, I'd be like, this looks interesting. What's going on right here? Right.
Yeah.
But I've been fascinated with space my whole life. I want to go to space. Like I want to go visit another planet so badly. And when I think about the size of the universe, how long the universe has been around, and the complexities and the difficulties of interstellar, like how long it takes to physically go from one place to another place, it seems obvious to me that there is interstellar travel, and the way that we do interstellar travel isn't by going from here to here. It's by here is already there. So it's teleportation seems like the obvious thing. And then I had this Burning Man is like my thing. I fucking love that place. This is the third time I brought it up, and you're welcome, you guys, because I will continue. Burning Man, I think, side note, I think that is the apocalypse playground. Like that's what the reason why we do that as humans is that we're going to that extreme environment to play in this, so that we can be ready for these new changes. Yeah. And I had this experience, and for most of Burning Man, I was not sober. I was on all sorts of things. But for the first 3 days of Burning Man, I was stone cold sober. I did nothing. And literally all I did is I went out, I arrived my first day, and it was mine because I was like this polygamous kid. I'd never seen anything like this. And then all of a sudden I'm in the most hedonist, like the most crazy place on earth. I left my camp. I arrived at my camp and I just went out to go for a walk. I was like, I had a jacket, I had like a flashlight and like some water. And I was like, I'm just going to go for a walk, you guys. And I wandered back into camp 36 hours later.
Oh my God.
I had just been wandering completely sober for hours. And one of the things that happened is I ended up in one of the camps builds this huge pyramid out of like scaffolding and stuff. And I wandered into there like early morning. I was pretty tired. So I found like this couch. I laid down. I kind of like fell asleep a little bit and I woke up and they were doing a sound bath. And while they were doing the sound bath, I just started meditating. So I'm meditating, I'm listening to the sound bath, and the shape of the pyramid, like the four corners, the actual shape of it, and then the way that it kind of goes up, it took my consciousness and it channeled me up and then out the top, and it blasted me off somewhere.
So cool.
I was in a totally different place for I don't even know how long, and then I came back down. It felt like a DMT or like a psychedelic experience, and I was totally sober.
I love that.
And I think that that's a lot of what those things were for, right? When I think about why did we make pyramids? Why did we do that? I think that there's something about the extreme focus of energy here that can get us to other places. I don't know how that works. I'll leave that for the scientists, but I think that's how we're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's something about sacred geometry.
There's something about sacred geometry. Yeah. And about the structure and about, building things in a way that, and then also just the power of our minds, right? To
Yes.
to intentionally, like you look at the things that that really intense meditators like monks can do when they are in extreme, like fucking, you can try to stab them and they have fucking iron skin.
Yeah.
They can like all of this stuff. And then you tie that into a structure that supports it. I just think there's a lot. And then also we now know that aliens are real because they finally stopped lying to us.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
They tried to like slip that in. They were like, while the world's ending, by the way, we've been lying about aliens the whole time.
They tell us so much stuff and we don't see it as reality.
Yeah.
Right? They slip things in and it's so crazy that they're like, well, we told you guys. So like,
Trust us. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for, there's so much kind of coming. So we played with these cards before, right? Apocalypse.
Yeah, I love
So one of the definitions of this card so this is the apocalypses card. They define an apocalypse as the unveiling of a truth and the wreckage that comes from the unveiling of that truth.
Yes.
And I think that's a big, that's a big part of what is going on here with especially with like aliens is we've been lying. We've been pretending like that's not true for so long. And now it's obvious. And then, and I love too, how kind of everyone's response to that was like everyone was like, oh, we can't tell people that aliens are real because they'll freak out. It'll destroy them. They won't even be able to handle it. And then they admit it and everyone's like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Like of course.
Egoic of us to think we're the only ones.
Right.
In this massive universe thing.
Yeah. Or even in this planet, right? Like I think about that we have maps, like we have maps of the United States and we draw this whole thing. We're like, this is all the United States.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's not. The United States is actually a couple of dots all over. The United States is a couple of dots and then lines between those dots. And then what out there, like if you've flown across it's huge. So much unpopulated space. And we're like, oh yeah, that's all the United. No, it's not. That's like a little bit on the coast and a couple of things in the middle and then some lines connecting it. And that's it. That's what we actually have control over. And we think that we're like the top dogs and we're so powerful. And we're like, we do everything. And in some ways we are pretty powerful, but we're also so tiny.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We've unpacked a lot.
We did unpack a lot. We are about a time. Are there any kind of final thoughts about the apocalypse, about preparing about kind of thriving in the apocalypse or aliens or anything witchiness that you want to share before we wrap?
Yeah. So I think that we're going to have another conversation about water because that's a huge part of this too. I mean, what is it, like 75 to 90% of the planet's water,
Yeah.
same as our body.
Yeah. And we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the the floor of the ocean. What is down there, y'all?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we should save that for another conversation because that is huge.
Hell
And
yeah.
I have so much cool stuff to share about
Cool.
water.
I'm so excited. An apocalypse water conversation in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah. Because I mean, obviously, when we get destroyed anyways, we're going to get, covered in water again.
We're going to get flooded. Yeah. I mean, it's already happening. The ice caps are melting. Sea levels are rising. Like,
Yeah.
damn it. This is the thing that always makes me a little bit annoyed is the Bible thumpers are kind of right. Like the flood, I mean, they're wrong, but they're also like the flood. Here we are. We're flooding again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I'm not though. Utah's going to be fine. Utah's going to be beachfront. It's going to be great.
it's great.
It's going to fill up. California is going to be flooded, but it'll like just get really nice, and I'll have a nice beachfront house pretty soon. So
Great.
it'll be good.
Well,
I don't know about Austin. How close is Austin to the ocean?
we do have, it's down like Galveston. It's a couple hours. So
Okay.
it's like pretty close.
Yeah, that's pretty. You could. Austin might become beachfront too.
Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen here, Texas.
I don't know that Austin could get any cooler, but if Austin became like the beach, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Stephanie, if people want, if people wanted to follow, if people wanted to learn more about you, is there places where they could go to do that?
I reject social media.
Hell yeah. So you cannot follow her on social media?
Have media, but like you can find me there, but you're not going to actually find me there.
Yeah.
I'm going to be responding to you. I'm not posting very often. Yeah. I created this fancy survivalist. So that was like, I've got the name and I was going to do something with it. But then I'm like, I just don't approve of this way of being.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about Stephanie or connect with Stephanie, you're going to have to do it in the real world, y'all. Outside of the Matrix, you will have to find her somewhere in Austin and get a witchy rune reading and go to her she shed.
Yeah. And you could probably find me at Kuya.
At Kuya.
Yeah. Kuya. I basically live there. It's so rad. Next time you come, I have to take you there.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm down for that. I want to get down to Austin quick.
It's a cold plunge. I go there 3 times a week for that.
I just did a sauna cold plunge, and I was with some friends in Boulder, and we did like an hour straight of sauna cold plunge. Yeah. It felt amazing.
Incredible.
I can't believe that we don't have more access to that. Kind of stuff, because it's so good for you and it's so easy. Like it's literally just a box and fire.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
No.
Awesome. Well, Stephanie, thanks so much for coming on. I loved having this conversation with you. Thanks for giving us some cool skills for vibing the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Everybody, just a quick reminder on the show. So if you are local in Utah and you want to come to Comedy Church, Sunday, April 7th, that's 2 Sundays from now. It's going to be at the Redemption Bar and Grill in Harriman, Utah, 7:30 p.m. And if you use the code Benjamin, you can get $2, a whole $2 off the ticket price. And you can probably buy half a beer with that. So thanks, y'all. Thanks for coming out. Stephanie, good chatting.